Have you ever thought about how a simple act of loyalty could change the course of history? Today, we're looking into one of the most powerful love stories ever told, a story that quietly unfolded in the background, but ended up shaping the destiny of an entire nation. This is the story of Ruth, a Moabite woman whose life of faithfulness and love echoes through eternity. Our story begins during a time of famine in Israel. A man named Elimelech, his wife Naomi, and their two sons, Mahlon and Chilion, leave Bethlehem to find food in the land of Moab. But tragedy strikes. First, Elimelech dies, leaving Naomi a widow. Then her two sons, who had married Moabite women named Orpah and Ruth, also die. Naomi is left alone, heartbroken, in a foreign land. Imagine her despair. She has lost everything: her husband, her sons, her home. All she has left are her two daughters-in-law. Hearing that the famine in Israel has ended, Naomi decides to return to Bethlehem. She turns to Orpah and Ruth and says, "Go, return each of you to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you, as you have dealt with the dead and with me." This is a gut-wrenching moment. Naomi is releasing them from any obligation. Orpah, with tears, kisses Naomi goodbye and heads back to her people. But Ruth clings to her. Naomi tries again. "See, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law." And here, Ruth speaks some of the most famous words in the entire Bible, words that are a testament to unwavering loyalty. She says, "Do not urge me to leave you or to return from following you. For where you go I will go, and where you lodge I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. Where you die I will die, and there will I be buried." Wow, just think about that. Ruth, a foreigner, chooses to leave everything she knows, her family, her country, her culture, to follow her grieving mother-in-law into a land where she will be an outsider. This isn't just about family duty. This is a radical commitment, a profound act of love and faith. In our lives, we face moments where it's easier to walk away, to choose the familiar path. Ruth teaches us the power of staying, of choosing loyalty even when it costs us everything. Her commitment to Naomi is also a commitment to Naomi's God. So, the two women arrive in Bethlehem, and the whole town is buzzing. "Is this Naomi?" they ask. She replies, "Do not call me Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me." Naomi, which means pleasant, now calls herself Mara, meaning bitter. She's at rock bottom, but Ruth doesn't let her despair. It's the beginning of the barley harvest, and she tells Naomi she's going to the fields to glean, to pick up leftover grain, a provision made for the poor. This is where a little bit of divine providence, or what some might call a happy accident, comes into play. Ruth just so happens to end up in a field belonging to a man named Boaz. Now, Boaz is not just any man. He's a wealthy and respected relative of Naomi's late husband, Elimelech. When Boaz arrives at his field, he immediately notices Ruth. He asks his foreman, "Whose young woman is this?" The foreman explains she's the Moabite woman who came back with Naomi. Boaz approaches Ruth with incredible kindness. He tells her to stay in his fields, to glean alongside his female workers, and even instructs his men not to bother her. He tells her she can drink from the water they've drawn. Ruth is overwhelmed. She falls on her face and asks, "Why have I found favor in your eyes, that you should take notice of me, since I am a foreigner?" Boaz's answer reveals so much about his character. He says, "All that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband has been fully told to me, and how you left your father and mother and your native land, and came to a people that you did not know before. The Lord repay you for what you have done, and a full reward be given you by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." Boaz sees her. He sees her sacrifice, her loyalty, her character. He recognizes her as someone who has sought refuge under the wings of God. This is a beautiful picture of what it means to find safety and provision in God. In our own lives, when we feel like outsiders or when we're struggling, remember that there is a refuge for us. That evening, Ruth returns to Naomi with an enormous amount of barley. Naomi is stunned and asks, "Where did you glean today? Blessed be the man who took notice of you." When Ruth tells her the man's name was Boaz, a spark of hope ignites in Naomi's heart. She exclaims, "That man is a close relative of ours, one of our kinsman-redeemers." A kinsman-redeemer was a male relative who had the responsibility to help a relative in need. This could involve buying back their land or marrying a childless widow to continue the family line. Suddenly, Naomi sees a path forward, a way out of their poverty and bitterness. She sees a chance for redemption. Naomi devises a bold plan. She tells Ruth to wash, anoint herself, and put on her best clothes. Then she is to go to the threshing floor where Boaz will be celebrating the harvest. She must wait until he has finished eating and drinking and lies down to sleep. Then she is to go in, uncover his feet, and lie down. This might sound strange to us, but in their culture this was a symbolic act. By uncovering his feet and lying there, Ruth was humbly and vulnerably placing herself under his protection, asking him to fulfill his role as a kinsman-redeemer. So, in the middle of the night, Boaz wakes up, startled to find a woman at his feet. He asks, "Who are you?" She replies, "I am Ruth, your servant. Spread your wings over your servant, for you are a kinsman-redeemer." Notice the language she uses, "spread your wings." It's the same imagery Boaz used when he first met her, talking about her taking refuge under God's wings. She is now asking him to be the human agent of that divine protection. Boaz is deeply moved. He says, "May you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. You have made this last kindness greater than the first, in that you have not gone after young men, whether poor or rich." He recognizes her integrity. She isn't just looking for any husband. She is seeking to restore Naomi's family line, an act of selfless love. But there's a complication. There is another kinsman-redeemer who is a closer relative than Boaz. According to the law, this man has the first right of redemption. Boaz promises Ruth that he will sort it out in the morning. He sends her home with a generous gift of barley for Naomi, a sign of his commitment. The next day, Boaz goes to the city gate, the place where business and legal matters were handled. He gathers 10 elders and waits for the other relative. When the man arrives, Boaz presents the situation. Naomi is selling Elimelech's land. The relative initially agrees to buy it to keep it in the family, but then Boaz adds the crucial detail. He says, "The day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, you also acquire Ruth the Moabite, the widow of the dead, in order to perpetuate the name of the dead in his inheritance." This changes everything. Marrying Ruth meant his own inheritance could be complicated. The first son born to them would be considered the heir of Ruth's late husband, Mahlon, not his own. The man backs out. He says, "I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I impair my own inheritance." And just like that, the way is cleared. Boaz declares before the elders and all the people, "You are witnesses this day that I have bought from the hand of Naomi all that belonged to Elimelech. Also Ruth the Moabite, the widow of Mahlon, I have bought to be my wife, to perpetuate the name of the dead." This is the climax of the story. Boaz redeems not just the land, but the lives of 2 destitute women. He doesn't just do what is legally required. He acts with honor, integrity, and extraordinary kindness. So Boaz marries Ruth. They have a son named Obed. The women of the town rejoice with Naomi, saying, "Blessed be the Lord, who has not left you this day without a kinsman-redeemer. He shall be to you a restorer of life and a nourisher of your old age. For your daughter-in-law who loves you, who is more to you than 7 sons, has given birth to him." Naomi, who once called herself bitter, is now filled with joy, holding her grandson. And here's where this quiet love story explodes onto the stage of history. The book ends with a short genealogy. Boaz was the father of Obed, Obed was the father of Jesse, and Jesse was the father of David. That's right. Ruth, the Moabite foreigner, becomes the great-grandmother of King David, the greatest king in Israel's history. And from David's line, generations later, would come Jesus Christ. A simple story of loyalty, kindness, and redemption between ordinary people had massive, world-changing consequences. So what can we learn from this? First, God works in the ordinary. He uses simple acts of faithfulness, like Ruth's loyalty and Boaz's integrity, to accomplish his extraordinary plans. Your daily choices matter more than you know. Second, no one is beyond redemption. Naomi felt bitter and abandoned, and Ruth was an outsider. Yet God wove their brokenness into a beautiful tapestry of hope. Finally, we see a picture of our own redemption. Like Ruth, we were outsiders, but Jesus, our ultimate kinsman-redeemer, paid the price to bring us into God's family. The story of Ruth reminds us that even in our darkest moments, there is hope. It shows us the power of love, loyalty, and a God who works all things together for good. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched you, please give this video a like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shape our world. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.